Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So the actress that plays Lyanna Stark did this really cool interview talking about the Tower of Joy. So I'm going to explain what she said and what it means about that flashback. So just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen Season 6 yet. So the actress who played Lyanna Stark, you might remember from The Fall. I actually didn't realize it was her. I've seen The Fall, it's an amazing series. And now that I realize who she is on that series, it seems so apropos that she's Lyanna Stark because of the scandal that she was caught up in Westeros with Rhaegar Targaryen. So naturally, she played a very scandalous character on The Fall, very different type of scandal. But the way people inside Game of Thrones, the actual characters, talk about it in retrospect, it was extremely scandalous that they ran off together. Although when most of the characters talk about it in the books and on the TV show, they make it sound like Rhaegar kidnapped her. The twist probably being that they were in love, but Lyanna Stark had been betrothed to Robert, Rhaegar was already married, but there wasn't a whole lot they could do about it, so they just decided to bail. That's for future seasons to reveal. I believe there'll be more flashbacks that'll spell that out a little bit better. But the actress, whose name is Aisling, she actually said that she did speak a sentence when she was whispering to Ned. She was like, I'm not sure that I can reveal it because I don't know which direction they're going to take it in future seasons, but it is an actual sentence. So what she does say that we do here is that Robert will kill him, you have to protect him. He wouldn't understand. So right now, a lot of people are like, it sounds like she's telling him who the baby's name is, like Jon Snow maybe has a Targaryen name. That's really where most of the speculation is. But I think it's a little bit broader than that. I think she's explaining the whole situation to Ned. Like, this is what happened. We ran off together. This baby is ours. Please protect him. So it's not just his name that she's whispering. She's basically giving him all this exposition and probably explaining that, no, he didn't kidnap me. We ran away together. We were in love. But then you do hear the part where she's like, Robert totally would not understand. He